What is going on, my fellow weebs? Chrono here, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about the new tech arts customizations, at least for Bouncer, well, specifically Soaring blades in NGS. But before jumping to that, if you're new here, as always, I'm Chrono. I primarily cover PSO2 content. Would much appreciate a subscribe as we work our way towards that 10K mark, hopefully by the end of this year. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this. So the new tech arts customizations are actually pretty cool. It took me a while to kind of figure out how I wanted to deal with these or what I thought about them, but there's been a bit of testing that's done and we kind of have an idea of where the strength lies. Now, I do have some reservations just because I'm not fully convinced. Some people have done some testing already, some well-known people in the community, and I do believe them, but it just doesn't always feel quite right until we learn some other things. So feel free to reserve your judgment until we get more information in the future. This is just what we know off of the math that we have from the people that have pulled the exact numbers from the game itself. So for tech arts customizations, our new tech arts is Destructive Stork. So we have three options now. We have type 1, which is increase of attack range. Now, what I'm going to do before I do anything is I'm actually going to remove the tech arts customization. And I'm going to show you guys what this looks like from all aspects before we change it. Now, if you're a bit newer to Soaring blades, PAs and how they work, you have what's called an unvarianted attack and a varianted attack. Essentially, you can press every single PA a second time and you do a variant attack, basically like a secondary type of attack that you'll do that essentially just changes things. So I'm going to show you the unvariant version and then I'm going to show you the variant version so you can get an idea of like what the actual tech art does. So first things first, we're looking at our Stork. Make sure I got that right. Yep, always mix up names, so always make sure I have the correct one here. We're using our Stork completely unchanged. So this is just the unvarianted version. There's a nice little AoE, pretty cool. And the variant version, when you press it, there's an attack up and then like a slight attack down. We'll do it from the air too. And then do as a second follow-up. The follow-up actually doesn't move you at all. It's just the primary one. So just the first time you do this will move you up. The second time, oh, actually I moved you up again. There we go. It's not supposed to. I think after a certain height, it stops moving you up. And the way it's worded most of the time, it says it brings you down. You can see it brings you slightly down, but not by very much. So essentially, it's just a nice AoE, and you have the option to variant into a single target. Maybe your enemies die, there's only one big one left, or you want to do a bit of cleave, and then you can focus down one target specifically for more damage. You have that option as well. So that's what it looks like, completely unchanged with the tech arts customization. Now we'll go ahead and take a look at the three different customizations we have, and of course we'll show them off one by one afterwards. The first one we have here is increase attack range. I'm actually going to go back and do the activate so you guys can see exactly how much it changes based on leveling up. So you can see by leveling it up, all you're doing is decreasing the PP cost. That's it. It's not to say it's not worth leveling it up, but if you're not sure which one you're going to go with, getting everything to 5 is usually a pretty comfortable spot. It's not too expensive, as well as it's not too costly when it comes to materials. So usually get these up to 5 and usually pretty good. Some of them you can just throw into 1. Like there are some classes that just really don't need to worry about PP costs at all. So they're not too concerned with it and it doesn't really change the damage at all. So it's good to go ahead and toss at least 1 point in if you want to go ahead and test them. I'd say if you're going to use them and you feel like you want to use them pretty decently, 5 points is a pretty good spot to be in. So again, like I said, to start things off, we're going to go ahead and go with the very first one, which is just a simple increase attack range at the cost of extra cost 2 PP. And as you can see, if I use the unvarianted attack, you start to see damage numbers from much further away. It actually is much larger than it looks. You can see I'm pretty far away from my target and I'm still dealing damage. It looks like this is about the range. I'm going to go here and then just inch my way closer to it. About here. So it's a pretty good range away. It's pretty large. You're able to hit quite a bit. I think I actually hit both of these. Yeah, you can hit both of these here pretty comfortably. So very simple, very straightforward, simply increases range. And our type 2 customization is increase attack speed after variant attack, no descent on the second attack, potency after variant attack minus 18%, and increase PP cost by 10%. So this is essentially our speed customization. It cuts the damage of the second half of this PA or the variant attack by 18%, which is pretty substantial. Not a huge fan of this cut damage by so much. I know they do this so it's not like unbalanced. I know they did this with like, where is it, with Rampaging Harrier, which it cut the very beginning by 10%. I would like to see them cut this down by like basically to the 10% place. It might make it too powerful, I don't know really, but I'm a fan of attack speed. When I see something like this and it feels like it's not really going to be that good, it's a little sad. As you can see, increasing the level does not decrease the actual percentage that you cut your damage by. It simply affects the PP variant amount. So leveling up higher doesn't really do a whole lot for you outside of course, save you some cost in PP. We'll go ahead and switch over to it and I'll show you guys how much that increases by. Oh, it also makes so there's no descent on the second attack, which, as you guys saw, there really wasn't much of a descent on the second attack, but this is supposed to make it so there's no descent at all. And as you can see, the first part of our PA is completely unchanged. We lost that extra range, but now if we press a second, that is substantially faster and there is no descent whatsoever on our attack. Actually, after the second one, we completely maintain our height, so pretty powerful. I do like it. I wish it was stronger, to be perfectly honest. That minus 18% damage is pretty rough, but we'll have to see how it actually comes out if people figure out some good combinations for it, or maybe some extra interesting tech along with it. And last but not least, I think most interesting one, however, the one I'm told is actually the strongest choice, though the one I don't really, it's weird, right? I don't think it actually is, due to like use case scenarios and how bosses end up working out in a lot of situations. I believe it's probably going to be one of the better ones. I'm getting ahead of myself. I should probably tell you what it is, but continuous attacks occur after non-variant attack. Non-variant attack potency minus 10%. So what that basically means is after you finish a full Stork without pressing the button again, so let the full attack rock out all the way in, don't step cancel, nothing like that, you get a puddle basically of damage that happens on any target that's inside of it. And it tends to stay consistent. It's not really based on where it lands, it's based on where you hit during the attack. So like if you hit a weak spot, even if the target moves around inside that puddle, it continues to hit that weak spot, which is really, really nice. I can't show you here, but increasing its type doesn't do anything but, you know, affect PP cost. It doesn't actually affect damage in any way, shape, or form. We'll go ahead and switch over to it. And like I said, this is the one that people are saying is the most powerful one, at least for single target. I mean, yes, it's the most powerful one altogether, but we'll have to see. So here is the type 3 variant in action. We just press, let it rock all the way to the end. As you can see, it leaves a puddle down, a fairly large one that just continues to deal damage of swirling swords. It just shoots it over and over again. Now, the combination that people are using, that we believe at least is like the strongest choice, is of course putting down this puddle. And then while that's going, using a full Harrier. And then actually, right as you finish the attack is when it goes out. So you'll see that the Harrier timing on this is actually perfect for you to be able to reapply your puddle with one Harrier in between every single time. And people are saying that this is essentially the strongest combination of damage you can do during a down, essentially. And while I believe that's the case for downs, I don't know how this would work out in other forms of combat, especially if you're playing hybrid bouncer where you are using jet boots as well. There's a lot for you to consider doing in that short period of time. Like, I guess I can show off some of the other combinations that you'd be doing, but considering, you know, doing something like this to build your jet sweep jolt, doing something like this as well, spending really quick, going into your attack. I mean, like, there's a lot to consider on a down that you can do depending on how long that down is, but there's a lot of damage to be had overall. So while I do think this is probably going to be the strongest option, I just think it's going to be very niche for downs specifically, or enemies that just don't move around a whole lot. So knowledge is going to have to be very, very important. Now, one thing I can't really argue in this situation is this is going to be very, very powerful for precast, because as you can see, this damage puddle doesn't go down until you finish the entire PA. And this PA is not meant for single target. So if you can get this off before you actually fight anything, the puddle's here and just kind of walks into the damage, you're going to, you know, deal with that lack of damage that you could have done there by using this PA, and simply just, you know, get that damage puddle there to start off with your extra damage more or less immediately. But that's pretty much it. Overall, the tech arts customizations aren't exactly what I wanted, but they do seem a bit interesting. It's kind of interesting to see how things are going to work out. I'm curious to test these out against more targets. At least in the LTQ, I wasn't a big fan of it because the LTQ unfortunately has some enemies that tend to move around a whole lot. And on top of that, everything now being Multi-ship Tech Arts customizations are bugged to occasionally just do 1 damage, and it seems to be like bugged for the entire quest. So I actually recently just did an LTQ where I had it bug out not only my Harrier Tech Arts customization, which is the entire Harrier, mind you, but it also bugged out the new Stork Tech Arts customization. So it bugged out 2 of my skills, meaning I had to essentially not use them and use the other 2 instead, which was not the best feeling to try to deal damage. So it also seems to only affect specifically the Tech Arts customization activation portion of it. For example, like my puddle was what was doing 1 damage, not this actual PA. And since my Harrier does increase damage on downs, I was getting the 1 damage over and over again whenever the target was down, but while it was up, my attacks were perfectly fine. So it seems to be specifically Tech Arts customizations, and it seems to be able to happen on more or less any Tech Arts customization. So if you're someone who doesn't want to deal with that sort of bug, I know some people have saying they haven't been dealing with it a whole lot, they haven't dealt with it mostly at all, then I would just kind of ignore it. But if you do happen to have it pop up quite a bit, either don't play a multi-ship, which unfortunately some people have confirmed it happens on multi-ship, just not as often, or just turn off your Tech Arts customizations until they go ahead and get that bug taken care of. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully this helped out someone who's trying to figure out exactly what to do with the Soaring Blades customizations. I haven't really tested the JetBoot ones personally. I'm sure someone's going to give me the, hey, this is the default one you want to go for, as I'm just now implementing JetBoots into my playstyle again, just to increase my overall damage, because it is a damage increase to include JetBoots. They are very, very good. Either way, like if you enjoyed the video, sub if you want to keep up with more. As always, thanks to channel members. You guys are fantastic, and I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, my friends. Peace out.